Hello YouTube. No time to explain, but this is the easiest guide on how to beat Maru. First thing first, you gotta pick Protoss because I don't really have a recipe for Terran or Zerg, so you gotta play Protoss in this one. And if you start a game as Protoss against Maru, you gotta scout around the corners near your main base because he really likes to go for some cheeky proxy racks, especially if he's up in a series, and this is exactly what happened in this one. So I scout around a little bit, I check if there is any proxy racks hidden. I'm not really afraid of proxy racks if they are far away. It's not, it's in my opinion it's even worse for Terran, right? Because then Terran has no production of Marines early enough, and he doesn't really achieve much with his Reapers usually. But if the proxy rack is nearby, you can lose a bunch of probes, which is not optimal whatsoever. So you really want to avoid that if you want to beat Maru. We go for Nexus, we go for a pylon after Nexus, 21st pylon by the way, not the 20th, because if you go for 20th you delay your probe a little bit, which is not good. Boom, a pylon, perfect. Scout with a probe, see a wall and a Reaper, and from that you can deduct that this is a double gas opening, one of the openings that Maru really likes. So here you gotta decide what you gonna go for, if you wanna go for a Twilight Council or Stargate. In my case, I decided to go for Stargate. Stargate is kind of interesting because it's better in some ways than Blink, and it's better in dealing with flying units, right? Like Ravens, Banshees, Medivacs, Liberators, anything, because you have a unit in the air, so they won't be able to park their units in the dead zone. But with Twilight, it's easier to hold frontal pushes, and with Stargate, it's kind of the opposite, right? It's actually harder to hold frontal pushes because you don't have that many ground units, and you have Phoenixes that are not that... I mean, they're good, but it's also very easy to lose like one Phoenix, and your army becomes, I don't know, 50% weaker, it feels like. So that's why Stargate is a little bit harder when we are talking about defense. So now you really want to try to make sure the scout is not getting in, so I waited for the second adept to spawn before sending this first adept across the map, but Maru decided to sacrifice his Reaper to seize the tech. I didn't manage to hide the tech with my probes, but I killed the Reaper. So now I understand that, okay, this is definitely not a Reaper Helion attack, right? Because otherwise he wouldn't be willing to sacrifice his Reaper as easily. So instead I just send all of my units on my second base, 3 adepts, and Phoenix is gonna scout right away because my Stargate is already scouted, so I don't really need to hide anything anymore. And from now on, I kind of know what Maru is gonna do exactly. He always gonna go for a Cyclone Medevac Marine attack, try to pressure me because this is what he really does, and because of that, instead of going for a Robo, I go for a 3-gate follow-up, which in my opinion is very good at dealing with this kind of aggression. So I get a pylon on my third base, I scout with my Phoenix, I see 2 Cyclones, and I see Factory and Starport without add-on, and it pretty much means that guarantees me that it's gonna be an aggressive attack because yeah, usually Terran wants to get an add-on, right, to get more high-tech units, or maybe start researching steam on his to fly his barracks on and research steam. So I go for a battery, and I'm getting ready to expand. I also went for a third gas just so I have enough gas to afford the production for my three gateways. Here I'm getting a bit too greedy, and I get third nexus, excuse me. I think a much better choice would be wait for a first warp in, get another pylon, and only after that get my nexus down. I think that would be much better, because as you can see now I don't have a pylon ready, so I'm a bit sublocked. My battery is a bit delayed on the third base, which is also not optimal. I still have a decent amount of units, so I'm not that afraid, like I definitely not gonna die, but here I'm cutting it a little bit too close on depending on my nexus, right? Like imagine if I had 3 Stalkers here, I would probably be able to defend it, so yeah, if I just had my pylon in time. But I'm still trying to get at least some value done with my Stalkers, with my Adepts. Here I pop the battery overcharge, so I don't lose any units to the... Okay, I did lose a Phoenix, but I killed a bunch of Marines, I killed the Cyclone, so I'm quite happy with that. I expand on my third base, get a gas, and now I realize, okay, so he committed into it quite hard. I managed to get some units dead, and I still see that he's here. So I'm like, wait. I think he overstayed his welcome, so maybe I can just keep chasing him. And this is exactly what I'm doing. I warped 3 extra stalkers, so now I start to push him back. Very good pick up micro by him with his marines, right? He picked his marines up so they don't lag behind, because marines are obviously very slow. So also a good job with the cyclone, but I still have a very dangerous force, right? I killed quite a bunch of marines. If you look at the losses, they're quite even, although I lost, I had to cancel Nexus, I lost some other units. Now I see a third CC, and I see that, okay, there is no tank, there is just 3 Vikings, couple of cyclones, so I pounce on it. I have a lot of stalkers. Stalkers are good against both Vikings and cyclones, so I focus down this unit. I leave the cyclones so they don't output that much DPS. Get some more extra stalkers. At this point I realize that I probably won't be able to finish the game here, but all the SCV damage I do now is very good. I also traded out all of his expensive mech units, so I also realize, okay, this is probably good for me. Although 3 stalkers are on the way, I saw that there is a tank ready, and I don't have enough phoenixes to kill this tank off, so I'm like, okay, I'm more than happy with the damage I've done. I will park my stalkers here in front of his potential third base, so he can take it as easily. I see that he's still going for extra Vikings, because obviously he needs some anti-air and anti-ground units to be able to take his third comfortably, so I'm quite happy about this situation. I go for Robobay, I go for a couple of Immortals already, Violet Forge. I'm not really willing to rebuild some Phoenixes. I'm not sure, maybe I could... Okay, I have 3, I think 3 is more than enough. I wanted to say that maybe I need 1 extra, and I'm quite happy with 1 extra Phoenix that I got. Here I scout, I see that he's producing tanks, he's producing some barracks. I also realize that this is probably barracks number 4 and 5. Colossus, range, and here I'm just enjoying life. I got all the gases that I ever wanted to, and if you look at the worker count, it's also quite good for me. Here I realize, okay, it might become a little bit too dangerous to keep containing him, because I don't really have that much units, right, because I was getting all the technology. So I'm trying to pay a little bit more attention on my units. I see that he's trying to get out. I see that I also didn't manage to get his tank killed, so I just like, okay, that's okay, you can take your base. I'm more than happy with that, because at this point I'm also getting my 4th base. So I'm happy with how the opening stage went for me. And I also go for Colossus. I'm a little bit sloppy with my macro here, in my opinion, because I have 8, I just got my 8 gateways, but I was banking a lot of gas, so I also don't really produce any gas units. So this Templar Archives had to go up much earlier. This is something that I wanna judge myself over. And now I see that, okay, he got 2 Ravens, and he's actually moving out. I definitely don't want him to get into a good position, so I try to meet his army in the middle of the map. It's also a very good way of playing against Raven, right? Because you want Raven to interference matrix your Colossi when you can still push back. But once the Terran's army is on your base already, you can't really do much. So here I decided to go for something a little bit crazy. I decided to go for Storm instead of Archons, because I was like, okay, maybe he's gonna give me some time, because I actually showed him a lot of units, and I will go for Storm so I can feedback this Raven, but it actually was a little bit too late in my opinion. Maybe I could do that, but if my Templar Archives were on time, but still it's fine, because he wasted all of his energy, I believe, and I still have my Storm coming. I won enough time with my shield battery, because my second Colossus was out in time. I keep spending my resources. I also pay attention on my Phoenix positioning. I'm taking it very slow. I realize, okay, I need to wait for Storm. I will try to get some counterattack going with my proxy gateway and also with my prism, and at the same time I will be able to deflect this push because of the Storm, because Storm adds a very great value to Protoss army. Only 2 Vikings are alive. I was leaving my Phoenixes up for as long as possible, so I can scout for potential drops. So here I decided to pounce. It was a little too late, because my Nexus already went down, but the storm was ready, so I was able to push forward a little bit sloppy storms. But at the same time, if you look at the in the left side of the map, you see that I killed 15 SCVs with my forward depth run by. I also have a prism. I also have some extra zealots coming from this proxy gateway. So I'm like, okay, maybe I have some potential to kill even more pros, because obviously his army is very bruised from his push. I also killed a lot of here, and it will be a very hard time for him to deal with everything. Here I realize, okay, maybe I can't really push in, so I only drop 2 zealots just to annoy him, and my main idea here is to save my prism so I can use it for a next attack with +2 with blink ready. So here I just regroup, and I want to use this prism for my next attack. I have 2 High Templars. I got 4 more here. This is very scary for Terran if they don't have ghosts, and even if they have ghosts in moderate amounts, like 2 or 3, I can still feed back the ghosts, I can still storm, especially if I have a prism. So here I'm kinda trying to... yeah, so these 4 High Templars are definitely going into Archons, because this is a little bit too much for... yeah, it's a little bit too much storms. Pre-split, very important. I don't want Terran to be able to EMP all of my High Templars too easily, so I pre-split them a little bit. Of course, they're gonna stack together a little bit, but it's okay. It's still nice to always try to pre-split them and not be in one circle. I'll probably do that before I attack. 2 High Templars are in the prism, 4 are in the open field. So now I feel very confident, because I thought everything that happened before was going in my favor. Zealots are attacking the main Terran force. I'm zoning out everything from the third base, so Zealots on the third base can actually jump on top of the SCVs, which already will be good. At the same time, I see that, okay, this is probably enough for me to push into, so I keep pushing. I land a couple of very good storms. I make sure that my prism is not dying to any Vikings or Marines or anything, so I shift just a little bit backwards. I don't go fly onto main base or anything, and Maru just has not enough units. He loses more SCVs, types the G and taps out, and you can do the same if you just play as well as I did. You're gonna win. So good luck. Bye bye.